Our last session for the day will be a casual but dynamic dialogue titled The Economy Reinvented, Accelerating Digital Trade. For this session, I would like to call upon Datuk Wira Dr. Haji Rais Hussein Muhammad Arif, now Chairman of MDEC, and his counterpart for this session, Sophie Kamarudin, reporter for Bloomberg Television from Hong Kong. Over to you, Datuk.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for welcoming us to the stage of Digital One at that. It is my great pleasure to host this conversation with Dr. Rice today. It's been an invigorating bunch of sessions. I managed to tune into a few of them here in Hong Kong. Just an exemplary chat that we've had throughout the day we've seen. And given that we are in the final stretch of 2020, there are a lot of question marks still lingering as to what this year may bring, given the great hardships that we've had, which has forced governments, companies, and communities to reassess their priorities. But in that also comes great opportunity. Joel Neo at FAVE earlier telling the audience that COVID has seen a lot of people reflect on what their priorities may be. And Dr. Reyes, since your appointment at MDEC in June, your central goal has really been to reinvigorate and refresh the organization to better serve the demands of a digital economy, which is certainly a key goal. And you've been very busy to that end these past few months. What's behind this mission to recalibrate MDEC?
MDEC has existed for the last 25 years, and it has witnessed and gone through various landscapes of the digital economy, with the focus starting with multimedia super corridor. And till now, we have gone through many phases. And obviously, it is rapidly changing, and it will continue to change. So given that situation, we want to be on the forefront of the digital economy. And henceforth, we need to realign everything from the board structure, from the organization structure, to reflect the current reality. So that is one big, huge work that we need to do. And obviously, we have good cooperation and facilitation from the huge, rich talent in MDEC.
And on that note around board structure, every captain needs a savvy crew. And this week you welcomed 4 additions to the MDEC board across different competencies when it comes to those super brains that you've brought on board, whether it's AI or governance. What do you hope to do with this beefed up board?
Traditionally, we've been having board members that have served in other capacities and semi-retired or retired. This time around, we brought in industry leaders, trailblazers, to come in to help shape and rewrite how MDEC is to be focused on. So I think things have changed much with regards to the type of people that we are getting into the board. Now, once these members come here with rich experience and relevant experience, current experience, they will be able to help chart the new way forward for MDEC.
And speaking of a new way forward, Malaysia 5.0, that is the new narrative that you hope to capture going forward for the country. You told me that you're working on a draft around those tenets. I'm very excited to read that very soon. Can you share what are the key principles of Malaysia 5.0 and what are the challenges for an entity such as MDEC in achieving that vision in a forever changing landscape?
I think when you look at what Malaysia 5.0 is, essentially, normally people will talk about technology serving people. Now, historically, people have been serving technology. We want to reverse that, having technology to serve people. Malaysia 5.0 is loosely based on the Society 5.0 as envisioned in Japan. And obviously, we need to go through some adaptation and customization and so on and so forth. And it is something that is going to be big in Malaysia. I think many countries globally have also started adopting this concept of Society 5.0. And we will have our own flavor in terms of coming up with Malaysia 5.0.
So how do you weave that spirit of Malaysia 5.0 into this new dynamism that you're injecting into MDEC?
Essentially, first we need to learn the landscape that we are in. the technologies that is prevalent this time of the period of time. And we understand that to reinvent, we need to understand where we are. So that part is almost done and completed. Now we are now moving into where we need to be. For that, apart from the board restructuring that we are doing, the organization restructuring that we're doing, we need to also have the right wherewithal from all across the stakeholders. Again, when we talk about digital economy, we talk about digital economy for the many. We do not talk about digital economy for the few. And there are many concepts that is been talked about, spoke about, but the most important thing is that the technology must, at the end of the day, serve the well-being of the people.
Yeah, youth unemployment, income inequality, these are issues that have been magnified by the pandemic. And as you said, you'd like to ensure that no one gets left behind, that MDEC helps to serve the needs of the many. How can then the digital economy achieve those lofty principles, and who will be MDEC's key partners in achieving that vision, be it in government or in the private sector?
If you look at the current reality, given the pandemic situation, in Malaysian context, we are facing the troika of challenges, i.e. we have the pandemic issues, quite known. And due to the pandemic issues, we went through some, what we call it Malaysia Movement Control Order, or globally we call it lockdown, sometimes semi-lockdown. And that impacted the economy very badly. And third, of course, we are going through some political circumstances as well. Now, to combine these three issues, it is really, really a big situation here in Malaysia. And on top of that, this resulted in, for instance, the huge unemployment and underemployment among the youth, who are technically quite savvy. And these are the people that we need to reach out. We have a lot of programs and platforms and all that. But the unfortunate thing is that maybe the outreach is not sufficiently there. So we need to address that, i.e. How do we bring them into the digital economy platform? And by that, we are enabling them, we are empowering them. And then we talk about addressing this digital inclusiveness, we are talking about income inequalities and so on. I think these are the areas that we need to really be focused on. There are also various levels of that, what we want to approach. Malaysia level, which is all that I've been talking about. And then we have the greater market. We cannot do anything for 32 million people only. We need to address the 600 million market, which is the ASEAN market. Henceforth, we talk about heart of digital ASEAN. And then the third tier is the 2.2 billion people market, the 57 Muslim countries. Malaysia is quite progressive in that sense. We are known as Islamic finance hub. We are far ahead in the area of Islamic finance, sukuk issuance. We issue more than 90% of the global sukuk in Malaysia. For 4 or 5 consecutive years, we are in the top in the Islamic Finance Index, top country in the Islamic Finance Index. We are far ahead in the halal sector. So these are the things that can help us in pursuing a digital front, not just Malaysia, not just ASEAN, but the OIC nations, so to speak.
So how then do we leverage the talent that we do have in Malaysia? Earlier, Thomas Sao at Gobi, he shared with the audience how struck he was by the talent that Malaysian entrepreneurs had, saying they're as good as any in the world. How better to provide a platform for them to showcase this talent at a national level, at a regional level, at a global level?
Malaysia is rich with extensive talents. That's true. And the talents are being churned out every year, and there are many programs and initiatives by the government to enable those talents. Then it is also important to see it in a complete ecosystem. When you have talents, and if you do not have a complete ecosystem, there will be some challenges there as well. So building a complete ecosystem is important. Ecosystem for startups, ecosystem for nurturing new talents, ecosystem creating opportunities for these talents. These are the things that is very critical for us. And MDEC has played a critical role in this area of nurturing talents and empowering talents and enabling talents to go wherever they want to go. And as I said, alluded earlier, there are many, many programs that is available within MDEC and also within the MDEC ecosystem.
What parts of the ecosystem perhaps might need an upgrade to better catch up with the demands that the current digital economy requires?
I think data science specialist is very important. I think that is something that is can be improved upon. We need people more savvy in those areas. But by and large, we have huge talents. But these areas like data science and we need a little bit more in that area.
You've mentioned in the past that MDEC is in a sweet spot when it comes to enabling entrepreneurship. So what areas perhaps could see better digitization efforts beyond your typical e-commerce, animation? What could be the big drivers for the next phase of digitizing the economy? You've mentioned agri-tech in the past.
The important elements, like for instance, SMEs. SMEs contributes almost 34% to the GDP of Malaysia, employing close to 7.7 million people. Now, this is a very, very important growth opportunities. The other opportunity is the ag-tech, the agricultural aspects of it. Now, we need to make agriculture sexy again. And how to do that? You see, we have a net import of 60 billion ringgit. That's a captive demand. That we have about 1.2 million unemployed and underemployed youth and graduates. And then we have good sizable chunk of land that can be reused. Now, if you combine the three and infuse the 4IR into it, and suddenly you have a very good proposition in creating and empowering and enabling this youth to be able to be employed productively. Now, this morning I attended a meeting with the Agricultural Research House in Malaysia, another government agency, and we had a very good chat which showed that many of the pilots that we have done across the nation, whether it's a simple chili agricultural initiative or shrimp farming or you name it, we've done some pilots. And that pilots have showed us good results in terms of impact. So I think, and with the use of 4IR, I mean, when you talk about fertigation, for instance, you have a targeted fertilizing rather than en bloc fertilizing. So you reduce the cost by 60%, you increase the yield by 4 times. So these are the things that is very basic on a piloted basis. Then we can replicate these things across the nation. So I think there are many more things to be done. And I think with the new board members and a massive reorg that we are going to announce this coming Monday, we will be able to achieve that.
Digital transformation was very prominent when it came to the latest budget announced by the Malaysian government. It's also part of its COVID recovery plans. As you noted in the past, we've had plenty of digital-oriented policies and programs. So what is the differentiating factor for that roadmap from here onwards?
I think the government of Malaysia have worked very hard in the digital front since 25 years ago, when nobody spoke of multimedia super corridor. Then Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir talked about the multimedia super corridor. It brought us to a big wave of digital initiatives and so on. Now, the problem with that is, however, there's a challenge. The challenge is this. You have beautiful policy engraved in paper and documents, well articulated, get some PR agency to make it even sexier than it can be. And all that is good. but they say maybe I should say the angels are in the detail. Why I say angels in the detail is because when it comes to the implementation, there seems to be a gap. So we in MDEC, now, as I said, I've been here since June 15. We've been studying very closely, been very quiet for the first 50 days or so, just understanding, talking to everyone within MDEC and outside MDEC to really understand where we are. And now, with the recent budget, yes, again, the digital economy is being put in the mainstream importance, and I can explain to you why. The pandemic have actually shown us if you do not adopt digitalization, then your survivability will be a little bit more challenging. We hope the vaccine will come in the next few months. We hope the vaccine will be better than the 90% that one of the vaccine provider is promising. We also hope there will be more vaccine, but remember, we need to take care of the supply chain. We have 32 million people in Malaysia. From the budget that has been allocated, we are getting about 7 million. So there are much more work to be done in this area. So until then, the digitization and digitalization is going to be even more important. And therefore, I think collectively, MDEC will work very hard on this front, not only just AgTech, every sector, SMEs and so on, to ensure that during this period of what I always call survive to restart. So we survive this period of time, and when the time comes, then we can restart immediately. But if you don't survive now, and there'll be a problem. So there's going to be a happy balance between what we are going to do, very much focus on how do we bring this country to the digital front. Otherwise, we will end up as a digital colony. This is something that I'm worried, and that's something that is worrying people here. We do not want mega giants putting up their platform all over the world, and then our retailers lose the opportunity of doing businesses. And so I'm not talking about being protectionist, but I'm talking about expanding it and how Malaysia can position itself as one of the players, not only just in Malaysia and ASEAN, but more importantly in that 2.2 billion market, 57 Muslim countries.
Yeah, during the pandemic, we saw an acceleration of the adoption of digital platforms. We saw a big boost in online spending. So the Lazadas and Alibabas of the world certainly salivating over the prospect of tapping this market, not only in Malaysia, but elsewhere across the region. So your fears of Malaysia running the risk of becoming a digital colony, how best to protect against that, if not to adopt protectionist policies?
We do not want to be protectionist because we believe in free trade, free market and all that. That is very clear. However, we do not want to be left out. And that's why we must have clean and clear policy to ensure we do not end up with as a digital colony. And how to do that? That's why we have a good infrastructure in Malaysia, and we have talents in Malaysia. Now we need to upskill it more. And as you said correctly, the pandemic have fast accelerated the adoption of digitization and digitalization across the business. And we need to do all this. But there must be a clear vision, a clear direction. It cannot be wishy-washy. So that is something that we will be discussing a little bit more in detail. And the paper is almost done on the Malaysia 5.0, and which will have very specific, very defined way of the vision that we are going to have for MDEC and Malaysia. The idea is to be involved in the digital economy of the global market. We do not want to be left out, and henceforth, this part has to be taken seriously.
Upskilling the workforce, future-proofing the economy, these are endeavors that require great coordination across the government as well as the private sector. What are the touch points that you need to tweak to ensure that these goals are met, whether it comes to upgrading the curriculum, the latest budget, throwing more money towards upskilling existing workforce in the tech space. But what else needs to be done to really ensure that Malaysians are ready to take on this challenge?
We cannot be working in silos. That is a very important aspect of making sure things work. It has to be an integrated approach. What do I mean by that? We have many agencies. We have MDEC, we have MAGIC, we have MARDI, we have so many agencies working.
Very long laundry list.
Right. And we can have many agencies, but so long the many agencies are working together towards a common goal of the digital economy, that will be all right. So I think there should be more conversation. There must be more discussions among the agencies. It should be an interagency, intra-agency effort, and break down the walls, break down the silos, and make sure that it is a well-coordinated. Education is a very, very important thing that everybody needs to pay attention. Curriculums have to be updated. There are still some universities who are teaching finance and accounting in the old debit credit fashion, when we are now in a fintech and fintech era, and Malaysia being a big champion in Islamic finance. Islamic fintech is a big thing for us. So these are the things that we need to do. Yes, we have the talents, we have the wherewithal, we have the infrastructure, we have the name, so to speak, in specific areas. How to combine all these things together, work cohesively among the agencies, and to make sure that there'll be one, what we call trust, that is going to be leading the digital economy. I think in this context, the government of Malaysia formed a 4IR Council. It's chaired by the Prime Minister himself. I think that is a very good move. Rather than 4 or 5 ministries working on their own, 8, 10 agencies working on their own, here we have a coordinated. So talking to each other, conversation with each other, getting things recalibrated towards one vision, which is the Malaysia 5.0.
Now, just zooming in more on areas like Islamic finance, in which Malaysia does have a competitive advantage, that primarily lies with the big boys, the May banks of the country. So how does the SME aspect of it come into play in an area such as this? How do you ensure that the ecosystem allows for a wider landscape of participants?
Fintech is something that you cannot escape. I'll just give you an example. This multi-bank called Deutsche Bank used to propel the German economy for decades. And today, they are having some challenges. In their place, there's something called neobanks, those digital banks. These are the banks of the future, sometimes 3 times the size of Deutsche Bank. Similarly, in every territories these days, digital bank is going to be the front runner. Right? Now, you look at digital bank in terms of operating costs, bare minimum. You look at the workforce. If you look at the workforce, 70% are IT professional, 30% only the finance. Why? They introduce AI into the decision-making process, loan application process. So many things are changing big ways. So Maybanks or CIMB Bank or whatever bank, they need to reassess and relook into this area. Otherwise, they will have some challenges themselves. In terms of fintech and Islamic fintech, Malaysia have been a powerhouse in Islamic finance. And we've led in many ways. Like I said, more than 95% of the global sukuk was issued out of Malaysia. That shows the extent of or depth of the Islamic finance in Malaysia. So what we need to do is to extend that. We already have that talent pool. We already have that knowledge bank. Now it's just moving up the value chain. And in this context, MDEC is already working with some partners, and they are expected to make some announcements in the next 1 month or so, and trying to make this a dream of making Malaysia as the Islamic fintech hub.
Now, to pursue dreams such as digital banking across the nation that connects you to the region and beyond, that requires infrastructure that requires ensuring that you have more people who go banked versus being unbanked. How then to ensure that the infrastructure keeps up with the way the digital economy is progressing?
This is continuous improvement, and we talk about digital inclusion, we talk about financial inclusion. These are the things that is being discussed and being implemented upon even in Malaysia. But this is a continuous improvement. As I said earlier, our infrastructure is good. It's not that is not an issue. Now we need to put content on the infrastructure. What are the services that we can extend to the end consumer, end customer, and the citizenry, and not only that, the SMEs and all that. So I think we have all the right wherewithal, but we need to now, as I like to use the word, recalibrate the entire thing, mold it according to the vision Malaysia 5.0.
Earlier, Dr. Rice, you spoke about the need to have better outreach. What is being done to better tell the story of Malaysia's digital economy? Earlier, during one of the sessions with Alexander Stubb of Finland, saying just how important it is for a country to brand itself and to find a niche.
Outreach is a very important thing. Many a times, even when I first joined MDEC, all my 17 SLTs tell me 17 different versions of what MDEC really is. SLT means Senior Leadership Team. And when I meet people, they don't really understand what MDEC is. So immediately we embark upon the outreach program of making the communication clearer with the right clarity and targeted. The problem is sometimes, as what has been raised in the social media recently, that there are many programs and incentives and grants and so many things are available, but people are somehow not knowing that. So I think we need to improve on the outreach. So that Finland minister is right. If your outreach is right and your narratives are right, then you'll be able to spark that digital economy better.
And funding, also a crucial ingredient, how to ensure that capital is most effectively deployed.
Yes, this is where we need to introduce a very standard operating procedure that is transparent. I think that is very important. Fundings are available, either in the form of grant or smart grants or matching grant, and also funding are available from other agencies as well. Malaysian funding ecosystem is good. Primarily focus on seed funds and Series A funds. Yes, Malaysia have to work hard on the Series B and Series C funding, but for now we are in that stage, seed and Series A fundings. And this is again the area that we need to look into. How do we improve and provide the right investment climate, including the fundings? Otherwise, we may have to lose some of the good companies. I don't want to name one or two who started in Malaysia and gone somewhere else and became very big. So we do not want to have that kind of situation. I think, yes, there must be some form of relook into the funding ecosystem in Malaysia. Having said that, we all know that we are going through a unprecedented economy situation due to the pandemic. So even the budget that we just announced, that's being debated in Malaysia, in the parliament, we see it's the largest budget ever been declared since our independence. So it's a budget with empathy. The government is trying to put a lot of money in the supply side of the equation and the demand side of the equation. That means supporting the SMEs, the businesses, and supporting the people, because as I said, the job losses, a lot of sectors have been hard hit. We talk about tourism, hard hit, aviation's hard hit. So we need to play a balancing act. I think the next 1 year, 1 or 2 years is going to be quite challenging. Be that as may, there are still funds available for the right businesses. And in MDEC, what we do, we have a good SOP. We've tightened the governance, and God willing, we'll get the right companies and we'll fund them and get it going.
And on that, Dr. Rice, what can be done to make Patrick Grove's dream come true, that when he opens up an app in Silicon Valley, he can proudly say that its origins are here in Malaysia or ASEAN?
Well, we can continuously do what we are doing, and we have to do better what we are doing. I think that is what we need to do. We need to support those companies. Again, I'm a very pragmatic person. I am not sitting here promising heaven and earth kind of thing, but yes, the intensity is there. I think in the Liverpool's world, we call it gegenpress. The intensity, high octane. I think MDEC is very, very passionate about doing what we need to do. Has been seen all this restructuring and so on. And I keep on telling them, at the end of the day, the most important thing is not having restructuring after restructuring or beautiful document and beautiful PR agencies making you even more beautiful. What's most important thing is the impact. What is going to be the impact on the society? How does it going to improve upon the society? And the choice is yours. Do you want to be a digital colony, or you want to be the digital economy to spark massive growth not only in Malaysia, ASEAN, and the greater 2.2 billion, 57 Muslim countries?
And Dr. Rice, with MDEC in the corner, it looks like Malaysia will not be walking alone on this journey. Thank you so much to Dr. Rice Hussein for his thoughts today regarding what could be next for Malaysia's digital economy and beyond. And with that, I hand it back to the MC.
Thank you, Dato, and thank you, Sophie, for that excellent exchange. Now, to conclude this engaging exchange, I would like to call again Mr. Gopi Ganeshalingam, Vice President of Global Growth Acceleration for MDEC, to deliver the closing note. Over to you, Gopi.
Hi. Hello. I'm back again. I'm Gopi from MDEC. I would like to thank all of you again for joining us today and for your active participation throughout the session. I hope you found today's session to be very rewarding and enjoyable. What you saw today is actually just a snippet of the caliber of talents that we have in our homeland. Through my role at MDEC, I bear witness to the world-class talent, entrepreneurship, and innovation that exists in our country. As Vice President of the Global Growth Acceleration Division, my team and I are tasked to catalyze the expansion of homegrown tech companies to become global players. Among the many growth-spurring programs that we facilitate include Gain Connects, which was launched in 2017, and to provide strategic interventions for local tech companies to skyrocket onto the global stage. Since its inception, our market access programs have formed partnerships with over 200 parties globally and forged over 800 business matching sessions for our portfolio companies. All of this has resulted in over US $1 billion in digital export revenue. But despite the borders being shut, we have continued to assist our stable of tech companies to expand globally. Our speed in adopting to new norm has been proven to bear fruit. To date, we have organized virtual market access programs for companies to expand into the Philippines, Taiwan, Indonesia, Vietnam, Japan, Russia, Australia, China, and Thailand. We have also conducted various funding initiatives to connect to our local startups with potential investors. These initiatives have attracted more than 500 startups, totaling up to 243 million in funds requested. As of September 2020, we have successfully raised close to 25% of this request. With a couple of more months to go beyond the year end, we are positive that these numbers will continue to rise. This year also saw Kuala Lumpur being recognized as the emerging startup ecosystem in the world by the Startup Genome. This is a testament to the vibrant ecosystem that we have developed. Our goal is simple. Despite the gloomy Sorry, I've got some disturbance on my line. Our goal is simple, to catalyze the Malaysia's digital ecosystem with high impact initiatives that will enable local tech companies to become global champions. Despite the gloomy economy conditions, there is a silver lining. Everyone is starting to realize the importance of digitization. 2020 brought a hunger for digitization like we have never seen before. Ladies and gentlemen, we at MDAC vow to continue providing the support required for you to solve. Let's continue to ride this tailwind and position Malaysia as the heart of digital ASEAN. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to bring you more invigorating and stimulating discussions surrounding the digital economy. Till then, take care, stay safe.
Thank you very much, Gopi. Now, we have concluded MTM's inaugural session for day one. Once again, let's thank all our speakers for their outlook, ideas, and insights on the digital economy amid today's unprecedented uncertainties. Now, we invite all our participants to join us as we resume our agenda tomorrow at 9 a.m. Meanwhile, do check out our agenda for satellite events happening all around the MTM 2020 space. We also invite participants to make use of the virtual networking lounges available. You are welcome to reach out to the event administration via the chat box for any form of assistance that you may require. With that, we end this inaugural session on a high note. And thank you very much, and stay tuned tomorrow.